welcome to So You Think You're Awake, the show about life transformation through dream interpretation. I'm Michael Sheridan. On this show, through analysing your dreams, I reveal your potential and the obstacles you need to overcome. I'm very specific. I tell you the magic power you have, what makes you magnificent, and the bumps in life that are holding you back. These bumps are not in the way, they are the way. To get your dream analysed on my show, go to dream-analysis.com, like many people do, fill in the form and submit your dream to the show. Then sit back and listen to the show next week to hear the interpretation of your dream. So my course is still coming. I've released the second video in my series, so if you're on my list, you will get that today. If you're not on my list, then look for the links around this podcast or wherever you're listening to it. If it's live on KKNW, go to my website, dream-analysis.com, and you'll find links to it there. If you're on YouTube, you'll find links under there. If you're at the archives, you're already on my site. So are you like me and you're getting lots of memes on Facebook saying, if you're not angry or you're not protesting, you're part of the problem? Of course, I'm talking about the killing of George Floyd by police. Horrendous, really. Not a type of video I would ever watch. It's amazing that these things are up there for people to watch and traumatize themselves with. But what do you do about that type of thing? First of all, you don't have to do what anybody else tells you to do. That's not what life is about. You know, there will be an endless list of people putting items on your own list of here's what you're allowed to do. This will make me happy. Your job is not to make other people happy by your actions. Your job is to pursue your purpose in life. And if you want to do something about George Floyd, and you really feel you need to, don't make decisions about what you want to do in an angry state of mind. Being angry pulls your energy down, pulls your vibration down. You want to keep your vibration as high as you possibly can at all times in your life and make your decisions in that. Follow your heart. Find out what you want to do when you're in that positive state and then pursue that. It's a bit like saying, I want to help the poor, so I'm going to be poor. I'm going to get rid of all my money and live on the street. It's not the thing to do. You're going to help people better by remaining above the situation in the most positive state of mind that you can stay in and help from that position. How do you know what you should be involved in? Very easy. Look at your dreams. They tell you all the time, this is what you're meant to be doing. And follow that. And if everybody followed their dreams and listened to their dreams, we wouldn't have the situations that we have right now. But here's another interesting thing. The times are changing. We're moving into female energy age and the male patriarchal systems are collapsing. This is part of that collapse. The coronavirus is also part of that collapse in terms of how it's impacting and revealing to everybody, particularly in America, how, the stimulus packages, the first two were, for instance, to make the wealthy wealthier. How did that help anybody else? It didn't, of course. And, so it's showing the imbalance, and eventually the imbalance is going to topple and destroy itself. It's just part of the time we're in. So moving on, let's have a look at some dreams. And the first one I have is from Shauna, and it's kind of a long dream. And so I'm just going to read through it and answer it, bits of it as I go through. First, her comments are, I've always seen a lot of colors in my dreams and numbers are usually prominent. I developed night terrors about 15 years ago, never having had them as a child. I can have 2 to 4 a month. Okay, so that's interesting. And we can always figure it out from your dreams why you're having those. There are other ways to do with that too. But you do mention colors, do you? Yeah, you do mention a color in this dream. So let's have a look. You say, I am sitting on a tan rock, feeling peaceful, looking out over other rock mountains or formations. So what is tan? Tan is a color of brown. Brown is the color of the earth. I mean, in America, people call it dirt, but earth or soil is brown, and brown in dreams is about practicality, something that's earthly. It has a practical purpose behind it. So we expect this dream to be talking about something like that. But tan is kind of a light brown, so it's saying there's going to be a more positive thing about, like, say, including spirituality with your that it's a practical thing for you to add to your outlook in life. And also acceptance and tolerance is a practical thing to add to your outlook in life. Anyway, you say, all of a sudden to the right of me, a lady comes up climbing the rock mountain beside me. She tells me she needs help. So interesting that you're helping somebody. That says something about you, one of your gifts. I say I have never done that before. She tells me she really needs my help to get to the top. We start climbing and I'm slightly below her. We have no climbing gear, just our hands and fingers. I'm getting exhausted and I wonder if I make it to the top, will I ever be able to pull myself over the rim? We are now in a clubhouse at the top. Okay, so you made it. So that's like, okay, this is about activating your spiritual side because you're going upwards. You're asked to help a woman. So it's saying work on your female side. And also you're here to help other people because you're directly asked it in the dream. And what else have we got? You use your hands and fingers. Okay, so you're very likely a healer. I would expect to see other symbols in this dream that are going to back that up. And then a little thing about birth there, being exhausted, getting over the rim, but we'll skip that. We're now in a clubhouse at the top. Excellent, you've joined the club. It is mostly glass. That tells us you have a strong intuition. You get things through feelings. You get feelings about things. And you should listen to that. There are 4 to 6 other women and there is a celebratory mood, but I'm also exhausted physically. So this is the part about life. Now, I didn't get to write to you before the show. So are you physically exhausted? Is that a problem for you? Probably not. And if not, it's going to be about, it goes back to your birth. When you were physically exhausted, you look at an infant trying to move across the floor. They can't. And even when they do start crawling, they get nearly nowhere and it takes all their energy. And so that type of thing in a dream is often just in the dream to bring us back to there, especially when you're lying on the ground or sitting on the ground, which again is something we tend to only do as a baby. I sit down and then the short-haired lady with grey hair says it's time to go. Someone jumps out the window. I like that. So all these women as well, it's to work on your female side, which tells us you're going to have issues with mom. We're going to see that show up in the dream. Someone jumps out the window. I ask what's going on. Then the lady I followed up, who at this time seems like the leader. Yes, there's a leader there because you're a leader. She tells me it is the only way down. I tell her I don't think I can do it. She says the only other way is to be airlifted. I think to myself, no. If everyone else is doing it this way, I don't want special treatment. Okay, so first of all, never say that in a dream. If you're going to be offered special treatment, take it. So you hold yourself back here by not wanting the special treatment when obviously it's an option for you, especially because it's your dream. It doesn't cost you anything for that airlift. But you've really been told, take a leap of faith. That's what's happening here. The people are jumping off the cliff. And so you're being told, take a spiritual leap of faith. And remember, because of the start and the tan, it's saying, look, this is a practical thing. It isn't like we get into our spiritual, some people get into their spiritual side, some don't. It doesn't really matter. Of course it matters. It's hugely important. Everything you do in your life. And there's a practical aspect to developing this side and taking the leap of yourself and taking the leap of faith and following it. I look out the door of the clubhouse and over the edge and see water way down at the bottom. There's a tan boulder slightly under the water to the left, and then the water gets darker to the right. They tell me you have to jump out at an angle. I ask them, what am I going to do with my stuff? Of course, stuff is never good in a dream. I look to the right and there's a closet with about 10 things hanging on it. So things hanging up in a dream, or clothes and stuff, they're all about attitudes you've picked up. Or dysfunctions, let's say, hang-ups, because they're on a hanger. Dreams exaggerate, so it's not saying that you've got a ton of issues in your life, but it's saying you've got issues from the start of your life that you need to work on. They ask me why I brought things. I tell them my mom, there she is, told you to be mom. I tell them my mom told me I should, since I don't know if I was going to spend the night. I started putting all of it in a pink duffel bag and asked the leader if she will throw it down to me once I have jumped. So here's what you should do. You should have just left all that behind and jumped and not taken the stuff. The pink duffel bag tells us that you didn't get unconditional love from mom. That's what you got to work on. And now we see why there's the issue with raising your female energy up, which is what you're doing at the start with following that woman up as she climbs up the cliff face. But the pink tells us that's where you got to do the work. Heal the issues around mom while in the womb and at the start of life. And all the frustrations that you have now will disappear once you deal with that. All of a sudden, a huge gust of wind comes and the clubhouse starts lifting off the mountain. As it starts to fall, I'm floating by the doorway. I take my 2 feet and push off because I don't want to be in the clubhouse when it hits the water. I then end up on a wet rock leaning up against a building trying to catch my breath. Okay, very good. So it wasn't the end of the world, but you take a leap of faith and there you are out there, and that's perfect. All of a sudden I see the clubhouse partially submerged, floating on its roof. A black lady is inside. So this is about fears. You've got fears on the inside that you picked up from mom and that you got to deal with. I tell her to grab my hand, and hands are important to you because you're a healer. We're reaching out and I'm thinking, I need to help keep my weight back so I can help her and not fall in. There are about 4 of us sitting on rocks, just trying to catch our breath. So this, I think you've said this a couple of times, trying to catch your breath. So was there difficulty at the start of your life? Do you know about this, where you had difficulty breathing? I see a man in the water and one of my pouches is floating by him. I ask him to get it for me. All of a sudden, a huge wave comes and pulls me out into the deep water. That's actually good. But the huge wave is like, you're not going to perceive it as good. It's like life comes at you and it's scary. That's how it feels to you. I'm yelling, no, I feel so helpless. I am by a bride and groom who are in the water with their photographer. Isn't that amazing how dreams do that? Just out of the blue. Here you go, bride and groom. They seem happy and the water is bright and clear. So there are other references to this in your dream, but you're a channel. I didn't point out the other ones that are prior to this, but the bride and groom show that you're a channel. You have the ability to communicate with spirits, and they're happy. So that says when you get into that, you're going to be happy. And this also is part of the reason for your night terrors. So learn how to channel, and that will stop that on its own, even if you don't look at your dreams. They seem happy and the water is bright and clear. Very good. I look down and the water is dark and I'm scared of a shark eating me. So here it is. Other people in the same water and they're happy and everything looks good to them. And you're in the same water and you're afraid of a shark going to eat you. So it's all perspective. It's not going to happen. I am back leaning against the same building, but this time I am by the doors. They are double glass doors, so I know it's a business. Okay, so double doors are about the heart. Being airlifted is about the heart because it's helicopters as well. Helicopters are about the heart. Anything with a propeller is going to be the heart. So here the double glass doors are about give and take, so having a two-way flow in your heart. But it's all about work on the issues with mom so that your heart is open and you don't hold back like you do in the other one. Like you're holding back trying to help the black woman who's inside the clubhouse, but you're holding back to keep your weight on the rock. You don't want to hold back. All of a sudden, I see 3 newsboy caps in the water. One is brown patchwork. So brown, again, sticking with it, the practical aspect. And newsboys, they deliver the news. So one of your abilities is to help people see the highlights of what they need to work on in their lives. I don't know whether you help people that way already, whether you say, and this would be where like somebody's saying, yeah, I never got on with my dad. And you go, your issue isn't your dad. It really isn't. Your issue is your mom. And it'll be a shock to them. But anyway, you're able to give the high level picture to them so they know which articles to read in the newspaper. That's the point of this. And you've been asked to commit to it. And you fetch them out of the water, which is great. So it's a spiritual gift, which is why they're in the water. I grab them and put them in the corner so they'll be safe. Okay, so you've got to stop playing it safe and you got to stop putting your gifts in the corner. You just got to come out and start using them. Take the leap of faith, like, is that the start of the dream? And someone asks why. I tell them that they may come looking for them. I don't want them to lose their things like I did. Okay, so it's don't lose your gifts, but you can lose everything else. I am now walking inside the building with a man in a suit. I now know the building is a conference center. He tells me next time I do this, I should try to save some of my things because some people use them in their books. Next time I tell him, I will stick them down my pants. Okay, so the last part, we can just say the conference center is about preparation for life. It's kind of an interesting symbol to have show up in your dream. And so it's logic is telling you not to lose things. That's what the man is. He's logic. But really you should be letting go of these things. You shouldn't be hanging on to them at all. But he says some people use them in their books. So this is about, well, first of all, are you a writer? Maybe the books are significant to you. But when you see a book and it's about a person's life and experiences, it's saying you're either creating your own story of your own life, or else you're going to write about it in some way, which is kind of interesting. Anyway, and then you're trying to keep things safe, which is not what you want to do, like putting them down your pants. It's all about let go of it. And you said you wake up thinking, why would I ever do this again? Okay, so Shauna, thanks for that dream. I'm going to move on because it was kind of a long one. Here's one from Denise. She says, in reality, my ex-husband has remarried and we talk to each other every now and then like friends, but usually when it has something to do with our son. I don't have any desire to be with him, and the non-consensual sex that shows up in the dream is out of character for him. So here's her dream. It's kind of short. The other day, I had a strange dream that my ex-husband was part of. I remember being in the same house together. And I remember in the last dream, I said, men can represent thoughts and logic, which is what the husband represents here. But it should be a comforting thought because she gets on with her husband. She was married to him for a long time. They're still friendly towards each other, etc. So the idea in the dream is to take on, embrace an idea that's around. And anyway, she continues on. I remember being in the same house together, although we were not together as a couple. I was trying to sleep and close the door to my bedroom, but he kept opening the door to watch me. Then he had non-consensual sex with me while I was asleep, or he was trying to. At that point, I realized I could no longer be friends with him because he obviously did not respect me. That's really all I remember. Okay. So it's enough for us to say that there's something going on in your life that right now you're wanting to reject the idea of it. It's like, no, I'm not going to embrace this idea. And of course, dreams exaggerate. So like the intimacy with your husband, ex-husband in the dream is supposed to be you embracing the idea and fully getting on board with it. But you don't. So it should be obvious to you, whatever it is. And the point of the dream is that you should embrace it. You shouldn't reject it out of hand. Be interesting if you write and tell us what that is. And like closing the door of the bedroom is like you want to close the idea. Close the door on this idea. And now we have one from Diana. She says, I seem to dream of a 2-story stone house. There are fields around it and horses roaming about. Someone else owns it, but I find myself inside, frightened I may be discovered. It's a bit run down, but I seem to be fixing it. It is all very familiar to me. I go there almost every time I close my eyes. Oh, well, that's horrible if you have that feeling that you may be discovered. And this is, so dreams of entering a house, approaching and entering a house are about approaching and entering your mom's body, about being in the womb. That's the first physical location we end up in. And it's hugely, hugely significant for the rest of our lives, how we are treated while in the womb. Does mom want me? Or does mom hate the fact that she's pregnant? Is mom considering having an abortion, for instance, or whatever? And some moms are open and honest about this, like my mom was. So if you're in the womb and trying to hide, you're afraid you'll be discovered, which is what this being frightened you may be discovered is about. It means that you didn't feel welcome. And you say it's someone else's house. So that's true. It's your mom's. And so while there, you were afraid of being discovered. Now you can't hide, of course. The pregnancy is obvious. But it means that it impacts you throughout the rest of your life. You don't want to be discovered. And, you don't want to stand out. It's a bit kind of like the first dream where Shauna said she didn't want special treatment. You wouldn't be the type that would say, hey, give me the special treatment. I'll come up on the stage as long as I get the special treatment. It's all worth it to me. So anyway, that's what you want to do. You say that the house is a bit run down and you seem to be fixing it. That's good. So it's saying that physical issues that you've got, it doesn't point at anything in particular in this dream, are connected to the fact that you didn't you didn't feel welcome when in the womb. So work on those issues there. And the horses outside, why the horses? Because horses represent healing, because the horsepower, things are still measured in horsepower. So any powerful animal, powerful car, powerful motorbike, etc., in a dream symbolizes the power you're able to channel through your body and usually out through your hands into your clients to help heal them. And what you're doing in the dream is you're healing yourself with the horses. That's how we know what people's gifts are. We see them show up in their dreams, and usually in a way where they're healing themselves, just like you're doing. And two-story house. Let's see. The two-story house is going to be about you also have you're being asked to work on your spiritual side. Go up one level away from the physical. You do have the ability to channel, but also it's channeling. Yeah, that's what it is. I was going to say something else, but I'm corrected on that. So it's lovely how much you can get out of quite a short dream like that. I really like it. And here we have one from Amanda. She says, my partner and I are on a break, and I go back and forth between thinking I should just end that relationship completely and with thinking I should just be patient. And I was wondering if this dream is related to what is happening. I'm also hoping it maybe has a suggestion as to what I should do. So here we go. Here's the key thing. She's asking, should you be patient? And in the dream, I was at a wedding reception. The bride threw the bouquet. I didn't step up to try and get it, but I also didn't back away either. No one caught it, and it fell on the floor. That's terrible. Absolutely terrible. So it's like, okay, so you're in a relationship, you're on a break, and you're wondering whether you should just be patient. No. What do you want out of this relationship? Do you want to be loved? Do you want intimacy? Do you want understanding? Do you want all the things that go with that? Do you want like your best friend? Do you want to be around your best friend for the rest of your life? Then step up in your relationship to get that. Don't wait for the other person to step up. That makes no sense. And I know as I'm saying it to you, you'll realize it makes no sense, because you can't expect the other person to bring it when you're not bringing it. You both need to do that. And so why not be the one who steps up and says, hey, look, here's what I want in the relationship. I don't want to be on a break. And this is where I want to go. Now, you don't ask somebody to marry you on the first date. You know, that's definitely not the way. But you do want to find out about the person. You do want to say, okay, what can we do that'll be fun and interesting as a way for us to get to know each other a bit more? So that all we want to know is, when I go on this date, do I want to go on the next date with you? Or the next date, and then the next date? And then it blossoms into something a lot more. So the dream is showing you that you're not doing anything. You're just sitting back. And so the fact that you say, I also didn't back away either, that's not how it works. You're not, you are doing something by inaction. Don't wait for Prince Charming, is what I would say. Get a lasso out and capture the guy. Let's have a look. Can we do another one? Here's one from Anthony. He says, I was walking and suddenly I saw this airplane land right behind me with a force landing as if it had crashed. Okay, so anything behind you in a dream is the past. An airplane or landing is about birth, arrival on the planet, like we go to arrivals at an airport. But it doesn't matter if it's not at an airport, it's still at an arrival, moving from a spiritual location to a lower location. Spirit plane to physical plane. A white woman came out of the airplane and started to chase me. Now, Anthony, why do you say a white woman? So because you're saying the color, I'm going to say this stands for somebody who is critical. Because white, most colors, different colors mean different things. And white without the colors is kind of positive. It can be positive, but white on its own is not positive. It's about somebody who sets the bar too high and you can never achieve their high standard. And then you learn, like as a kid, if mom is like that, which is most likely what this stream is talking about for you, then eventually she can stop being critical because you take over the role and say, okay, I didn't do that well enough. I'm not going to be good enough. And so it starts off with you originally being critical of yourself because you know your mom's going to be critical, but then you keep that up even when she's not around. She rents space in your head. And anyway, this woman started to chase you. So you got to deal with this woman. You got to turn around, work on the issues. I ran from her. I started flying in the air as she jumped into the air, chasing behind me. Now, I'm not sure, the wording is wrong here, so I read it a bit differently than the typos that are here. So I'm not sure whether the woman is on the ground or flying. So let's assume she's on the ground. But it means that you have a strong intellect anyway. You're able to mentally rise above your problems, and that's what you're doing in your dream. When I saw a few other airplanes flying, and then the people who were in the other planes joined the woman to chase me. They were flying alongside the woman, running behind me. At some point, they grabbed me as I was fighting my way from them. They injected me with an injection on my hand. Out of fear, I jumped from sleep and I woke up. And you call it a spiritual injection. Now, why? Why do you call it a spiritual injection? Injections in dreams are usually about abuse. Because anybody who injects themselves is an abuser. So it's typically about that. But somebody else is injecting you, so you suffer abuse. You got to deal with the issues with your mom. So like every other dream that I've covered on the show, they don't just show you the issues, they show you what you need to deal with. So work on this and your life's going to be better. That's part of the reason you're here. And I haven't done that. Hopefully I've covered it enough because we are out of time. So what I want to say is my course still starts on the 14th. That's my goal. I'm waiting for videos, 2 more videos to be finished so I can release them. But that's the goal, 14th of June. If you want to get the details, get on my list or write to me. If you have my email address, just write to me and I'll send you the series of videos, which are a lot of fun and cover all the things that are going to be covered in my upcoming course. And that's it until next week. I'm Michael Sheridan. See you next week.